Josh Koscheck had beaten him, that he had real hard time in the later rounds when he was competing at 170. But we also knew that there's no fucking way he should have been at 170. Even when he fought Vitor at 185, it was kind of the same thing. He came out like a bat out of hell and then faded. And then we assumed, that he also missed 185 against Vitor.
By 7 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, he had a notorious problem with his weight.
Yeah.
So we kind of attributed a lot of his failures to that. And we see him at heavyweight, beat the shit out of Arlovsky, break his jaw in the first round, and just tool him for 3. And we say, well, okay, well, Rumble at 205 is the fucking man. We missed that. Missed that opportunity.
Like a lot of you, I thought Anthony Johnson did not perform to his abilities in the second fight with Daniel Cormier. Anthony Johnson got himself in the position to fight for a title shot because of his devastating kickboxing. To the disappointment of his coach, he did not use it in this fight. He chose to wrestle. In an attempt to examine why Anthony Johnson chose to initiate the wrestling exchanges, I compared the differences in motivation between Anthony and Demetrious Johnson, and to do that, we must think in terms of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. A Google search will tell us that extrinsic motivation refers to behavior that is driven by external rewards such as money, fame, grades, and praise. This type of motivation arises from outside the individual as opposed to intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation refers to behavior that is driven by internal rewards. In other words, the motivation to engage in a behavior arises from within the individual because it is intrinsically rewarding. The reason why Demetrious Johnson was able to keep calm and escape these positions in his last fight is not only because he drilled those escapes, but also because he's been in those positions in camp. He's been sparring his much more experienced coach on a frequent basis. Psychologists argue that when athletes let external factors dominate their focus, they can fall victim of the over-justification effect. This is what I'm arguing happened to Anthony Johnson. In his second stint in the UFC, he was given a second chance by the company after a number of failed weight cuts. He came in strong, completely dominated Phil Davis in the first round and cruised to a decision. It was a great performance. He was straight flowing in there, mixing it up with uppercuts, front kicks, and high kicks. Now, as his career progressed, he slowly but surely lost some of that hunger. He started getting affected by external factors. Now, I'm not in his life, but I can only assume that the recent Black Zillions breakup, as well as his ambitions to follow a career in the NFL, are some factors that can be overwhelming. But that does not mean that he was not still devastating throughout his career. This is what we know about Anthony Johnson. He has incredible finishing potential. He tends to fade, and his camp recently broke up. He starts wrestling when he feels discomfort, and he was planning to retire in advance of this fight. Extrinsically motivated fighters are too focused on the outcome than the journey itself. They're so busy thinking about the paycheck and other issues in their life that they can't control. All of that takes away from the mental resources needed for visualization. Let me make it clear, his skills did not necessarily deteriorate. What I'm arguing is that distractions interfered with his ability to improve. He had some great showings against some great fighters, but he let external factors take over his mind. We can see the manifestations of those factors take over, in my opinion, in the Jimmy Manuwa fight. He started halfway relying on wrestling whenever he felt discomfort during a fight. Let me make it clear, it was a great performance. In fact, he had a 64% accuracy rate and landed some really good shots in the first round. He dominated Manuwa, but he strayed from the game plan. When he started getting a little tired and Manuwa kept standing, AJ started wrestling. He went back to what he knew. Let me reinforce my argument by bringing up his pay over his second stint in the UFC. As you can clearly see, his rise in pay was substantial, which is understandable, of course. He's an elite level fighter. However, somewhere along the line, and this is just my opinion, he started thinking about what he would do after his career with the money that he earned. When you hear Demetrious Johnson talk about the sport, you can tell that he gets positive feelings from training in MMA. He enjoys the process of learning the skill, and that eventually leads to mastery and adaptation. Whereas someone like Anthony Johnson finds that the activity reaches a stalemate, and that can happen for a number of reasons, such as burnout from overtraining or other external factors that one can't control. Eventually they get motivated by financial rewards, and then there's no motivation for improvement, and the competition catches up. Fighters who are intrinsically motivated constantly try and find new ways to keep their training exciting and unpredictable. They challenge themselves, reinvent themselves, and they take true joy in practicing their craft. They love being in the fighting environment. Like anyone, they're nervous about being in the cage, but the cage also represents a certain freedom of expression. It's excitement once they're in there, just another challenge, and their reward, the feeling of success. What can we learn from UFC 210? Whatever your art or craft is, if you want to get better, you need to be motivated by the process of getting better and not by material rewards. External factors such as problems in the gym, issues at home, can take over your consciousness to the point where improvement is simply not possible. My name's Christian, and this is my take on Anthony Johnson's career. Thanks.